Bitcoin. Will Bitcoin still be a viable investment in 2023? Bitcoin has been around for a decade now, and its popularity seems to only be increasing. More and more people are turning to Bitcoin as an investment, and with good reason. Bitcoin has a lot of potential as an investment, and its future looks bright. Bitcoin is an asset and payment system invented by Satoshi Nakamoto. Transactions are verified by network nodes through cryptography and recorded in a public dispersed ledger called a blockchain. Bitcoin is unique in that there is a finite number of them, only 21 million bitcoins. Bitcoin has many advantages over traditional fiat currencies. For one, it is decentralized, meaning that there is no government or central authority that can manipulate the currency. Additionally, Bitcoin is immune to inflation and financial crisis. Finally, Bitcoin is fast and efficient, making it a great choice for online transactions. Despite these advantages, Bitcoin still has some limitations. For example, it is not practical for large-scale transactions. Additionally, Bitcoin is not accepted by many merchants, and it can be difficult to use for international transactions. However, these limitations may eventually be overcome. Overall, Bitcoin has a lot of potential as an investment. Its future looks bright, and investors should consider investing in Bitcoin today. Cryptocurrencies have seen a lot of volatility in the past few years. In 2018, Bitcoin prices fell by over 80%. This year has been much more stable, with Bitcoin prices hovering around the $11,000 mark. But with the global economic outlook looking uncertain, is Bitcoin still a good investment? What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency and worldwide payment system. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency, as the system works without a central bank or a single administrator, which means it is not subject to government or financial institution control. The network is peer-to-peer and transactions take place between users directly, without an intermediary. These transactions are verified by network nodes through the use of cryptography and recorded in a public distributed ledger called a blockchain. Bitcoin is not like traditional fiat currencies, which are subject to inflation. Instead, Bitcoin's supply is capped at 21 million bitcoins, which makes it a scarce resource. This scarcity, combined with increasing demand, is what gives Bitcoin its value. Bitcoin was invented by an unknown person or group of people under the name Satoshi Nakamoto and released as open source software in 2009. Bitcoins are created as a reward for a process known as mining. They can be exchanged for other currencies, products, and services. As of February 2015, over 100,000 merchants and vendors accepted Bitcoin as payment. Research produced by the University of Cambridge estimates that in 2017, there were 2.9 to 5.8 million unique users using a cryptocurrency wallet, most of them using Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been criticized for its use in illegal transactions, its high electricity consumption, price volatility, thefts from exchanges, and the possibility that Bitcoin is an economic bubble. Bitcoin has also been used as an investment, although several regulatory agencies have issued investor alerts about Bitcoin. Why invest in Bitcoin? There are many reasons to invest in Bitcoin. First, as we mentioned, Bitcoin is a scarce resource. There are only 21 million Bitcoins in existence, and as demand for Bitcoin increases, so will its price. Secondly, Bitcoin is a digital currency, which means it is not subject to inflation. This is a big advantage over fiat currencies, which often suffer from high inflation rates. Another reason to invest in Bitcoin is its decentralization. Bitcoin is not controlled by any government or financial institution. This decentralization gives Bitcoin a lot of advantages. For example, it is very difficult for governments to confiscate Bitcoin. Additionally, Bitcoin is not subject to chargebacks, meaning that once you send Bitcoin to someone, they cannot take it back. Lastly, Bitcoin is a very secure investment. When you invest in Bitcoin, you are investing in a decentralized network that is very difficult to hack. Additionally, Bitcoin transactions are irreversible, meaning that there is no risk of chargebacks. Here are a few things to consider before investing in Bitcoin in 2023. 1. The macroeconomic outlook. The first thing to consider when deciding whether to invest in Bitcoin is the overall macroeconomic outlook. In particular, you need to consider the following factors. The direction of interest rates. If interest rates rise, it will be more expensive to borrow money to buy Bitcoin. This could lead to a decrease in demand for Bitcoin, and a consequent decline in prices. The state of the global economy. A recession could lead to a decline in asset prices, including Bitcoin. The geopolitical environment. Tensions between major powers could lead to a reduction in global trade, and a consequent decline in demand for Bitcoin. 2. The regulatory environment. Another important factor to consider is the regulatory environment. In 2018, the SEC cracked down on ECOs, and the CFTC issued a warning about the risks of trading cryptocurrencies. This increased regulatory scrutiny could lead to more stringent regulation of Bitcoin in the future. This could make it more difficult to buy and sell Bitcoin and could lead to a decline in prices. 3. The technology Bitcoin is based on blockchain technology. This is a relatively new technology, and it is still being developed. As such, there is a risk that the technology could be subject to unforeseen problems. This could lead to a decline in the use of Bitcoin, and a consequent decline in prices. 4. The adoption. Another factor to consider is the adoption of Bitcoin. At present, Bitcoin is not widely accepted as a payment method. This could change in the future, but it is not certain. If Bitcoin does not become widely adopted, it could become worthless. 5. The price. Finally, you need to consider the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin prices are highly volatile. This means that they can go up or down very rapidly. If you invest in Bitcoin, you need to be prepared for the possibility of losing all of your investments. On the other hand, if the price of Bitcoin goes up, you could make a large profit. Conclusion. Is Bitcoin a good investment in 2023? Yes, we believe that Bitcoin is a good investment in 2023. We believe that the combination of scarcity, decentralization, and security make Bitcoin a very attractive investment. It depends on the factors discussed above. If you are risk averse, you should avoid investing in Bitcoin. But if you are willing to take the risk, you could make a lot of money.